IFW, the international voice of freight and logistics.
Thanks for tuning into IFW, broadcasting from the heart of London to the international logistics community. Before we head over to Damien Brett for the news roundup, just want to let you know that IFW is spearheading a petition against the EC proposals to limit the heights of trailers to 4 meters. Now, we feel quite strongly about this at IFW, and we decided that we're going to let the guys in Brussels know just exactly what we think, and also what I suspect you think as well. Now, if you think it's a bad idea to limit the height of trailers to 4 meters in the UK, wander over to http://ifw.epetitions.net. There's a campaign there that we started. That's where you find an online petition, sign it. We're going to send it over to Brussels and hopefully have a chat with the ministers responsible for making these sort of decisions. If you haven't got that address, just go over to ifw-net.com, where you'll find a story about the petition, and that will also give you a link that you can click on, take you straight there, sign your name on a dotted line, and make your feelings known. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now. I'm glad I got that off my chest. Oh, I feel better now. Anyway, let's head over to Damien Brett for a roundup of the week in the news. Over to you, Damien.
Thanks very much, Kizzy, and make sure you visit the IFW website and sign our petition. Now, coming up after I've gone through the top 5 most read stories from this week, Paul Holloway from TOC Conference and Exhibition will be joining me to talk about this year's event. But before we go on to that, the top 5 most read stories from last week. The 5th most read story with 575 views is shippers line up against US 100% air cargo screening. Shippers have come out against US proposals for 100% of air cargo to be screened before loading onto freighters, which were announced following the discovery of 2 bombs on freighters 2 weeks ago. Andrew Trail, managing partner of online forum Shippers Voice and policy director at the European Shippers Council, said the proposal would harm international trade and would be ineffective. And the 4th most read story of last week with 613 views is weapon stash found in Nigeria came from Iran. A weapon stash of rocket launchers, grenades and mortars discovered at Apapa port in Lagos, Nigeria, originated in the southern Iranian port of Bandar Abbas, according to the French-based shipping company CMA CGM. The 3rd most read story of the week, with 776 views, is UK launches probe into air cargo security. The UK government has launched an investigation into air cargo security after a sophisticated bomb was found on a US-bound freighter at East Midlands Airport. The government's Emergency Planning Committee, which is known as COBRA, will be meeting to discuss current security levels and examine whether tougher measures should be implemented. And the 2nd most read story with 778 views is Asia to Europe rates continued downward spiral. Asia to Europe container rates have continued to decline despite vessel utilisation levels increasing. Over the past few weeks, rates on services from Shanghai to Northern Europe fell by $12 compared to the previous week to $1,535 per TEU. Rates to Mediterranean ports were down $22 at $1,512 per TEU. And the most read story of last week with 800 views is forwarders warn against knee-jerk reaction to aircraft bomb discovery. UK forwarders have warned against a knee-jerk reaction to the discovery of a bomb on a freighter at East Midlands Airport. Home Secretary Theresa May told the House of Commons that all aspects of air freight security would be reviewed. The announcement follows the discovery of an explosive device on a UPS aircraft flying from Sana'a in Yemen that stopped at the UK en route to Chicago. Now, as mentioned earlier, I've got Paul Holloway from TOC joining me on the phone. Paul is organising TOC Americas, which is taking place from the 9th to the 11th of November, so it actually starts today, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
So, Paul, what are going to be the hot topics at this year's TOC Americas conference?
Well, we intend to take our audience through a macro to micro journey across the 3 days. The conference will be opened by Minister Pedro Brito, who's the Minister of the Special Secretary of Ports for Brazil, very, very high profile. We have contribution from Richard Klein, who's the chairman of Multi-Terminales and Latin Ports, and also the vice chairman of Santos Container Terminal. These guys will really be giving us an overview of the Brazilian market. It's such a huge economy, $1.6 trillion, showing 6% growth this year. I mean, it's really rebounding strongly from the economic downturn, mainly down to the European and China trade routes. From there on, we'll be moving on to the container supply chain, particularly with a shipper focus. We'll be hearing from CPMC, sort of what do cargo owners expect from the supply chain in order to efficiently move their goods to the end user. We'll be hearing from shipping lines such as CMA, CGM, discussing the ports and logistics chain throughout Central and Latin America. Then we will look at sort of topics involving the economy, the recovery, looking at facts, figures and predictions from leading consultants and economists. We'll be hearing from some terminals in Latin America, such as Libra in Santos, Conticar, Colombia, some of the global operators, APM Terminals, TCB. From then on, sort of days 2 and 3, we kind of drill down into more sort of technical issues, port infrastructure, financing of new terminals, trucking and barge, inland transportation. We'll be hearing from some of the world's leading civil engineers and port planners, such as Moffat and Nicol, Halcrow, Worsley, Parsons. And finally, we'll be sort of concluding with an operation stream, looking at issues such as automation, data capture at the terminal gate, RTG technology, from some of the leading suppliers such as Bromma-Jade, Cargotec, etc. So, in summary, we're kind of beginning with macro overview from leading sort of thought leaders, and then we get that right down into the nuts and bolts of container terminal operations.
Yeah. This seems like quite an all-encompassing event.
It is. It should be attractive for everybody who's connected to the container maritime supply chain, with a particular interest in Latin America.
Oh, that actually brings me on to my next question. I was going to say, why do you think IFW readers should be attending the event? What would they get out of it by going along?
I think some years ago I came up with a strapline for this event, which is Learn, Debate, Network. And I think this pretty much encapsulates everything that your listeners will benefit from.
Yeah.
On the learning side, the highest quality conference editorial in the maritime sector. This has been proved over many, many years, certainly the 11 years that I've been working on this product. It's very, very high profile. TOC has a great reputation for delivering that. The speakers of the highest caliber, the delegates themselves, obviously, again, very senior members of the port and terminal and shipping community. Educational experience, so you can learn a lot from coming to one of these events. Firstly, as I mentioned, a sort of helicopter view of Latin America, container market, and then a much more drilled down sort of knowledge of the operational and technology side affecting modern day container terminals.
Yeah.
Plus the added benefit of the shipper and shipping line perspective, which will probably be very interesting to your readership and your listeners.
Yeah.
Debating, very interactive. We encourage two-way discussion. It's very much about sort of getting involved. It's not really a classroom sort of situation. It's a high-level discussion forum.
Everyone's encouraged to get stuck in.
Well, really, yeah, because it just makes it more sort of beneficial for everyone involved if you become involved with the whole sort of discussion side. And finally, on the networking side, there's various lunches, parties, social occasions. The feedback we've had over the years is that networking is one of the primary reasons that people attend these events. It's not just about the content. And a lot of business is done outside of the formal arena.
Oh, okay.
In sort of less formal surroundings, contacts are made, and And TOC's got a reputation for having a social dynamic. It's actually can be quite fun as well.
I was going to say, because obviously everyone knows the conference, but what else goes on at the event? You've got some social events as well, by the sounds of it. And
Indeed. I mean, we're starting the event, if you like, day -1 before the event itself. We have a port tour of Multi-Terminales in Rio.
Okay.
Which is enjoying its centenary year this year. It's the third biggest port in Brazil. Mainly container focused, but there's also some bulk and vehicle terminals there as well. They're developing a project at the moment which will make it the largest deep draft quay in Latin America, over 2,000 metres, dredging at 15.5 metres for the larger vessels. So that's actually quite a fascinating addition to sort of people who attend the conference.
Yeah.
On the networking side, aside from the usual lunches and coffees, we have pre-conference drinks with the minister on the Monday evening, which is very sort of low-key, informal, sort of icebreaker, if you like. And then the sort of famed main party, which this year is kindly sponsored by Halcro, which will be on the beach on the Tuesday evening. Yeah, it's phenomenal surroundings.
Yeah.
We've got live band and cocktails and dancing, and as I mentioned before, that's often the highlight of the event, and where a lot of people do a lot of business and have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Not to be missed.
Definitely, sounds like it, Paul. Okay, well, thanks for joining us.
Not a problem. Thank you very much for your time.
And good luck with the event.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Well, Paul, thanks very much for joining us, and if you would like any more information about any of the stories you've heard about today, you can visit ifw-net.com, and there's plenty more to read there.
IFW, the international voice of freight and logistics.